Oh, this is going to be a juicy one. This is going to be one of those juicy episodes that we sink into and really get to unmask together. I'm so over the moon to be able to share a little bit more about archetypal embodiment work. If you haven't yet, I would recommend you check out the 5 radical reclamations of archetypal embodiment work before listening to this episode. It'll give you a little bit of a foundation for what archetypal embodiment work is and sort of the radical change and transformation that it has created in my life over the past year and a half or so. So if you haven't listened to that episode yet, I highly recommend. 5 radical reclamations of archetypal embodiment work. Today, we're going to be leaning in even more deeply. Today, we're going to be talking about reclaiming the path of the wild feminine, dark goddess, wild feminine. Specifically 3 really powerful feminine forces who initiated me into deeper sovereignty, truth, and sacred sexuality. This episode really is an invitation for you to explore what reclaiming your own wild feminine could unlock. These aren't just archetypes. Anytime I'm thinking and talking about embodiment, I'm really all about how we ground it into the nooks and crannies of our everyday lives. These archetypes, they aren't just stories. They're parts of self that live within us, and they're energies that I have had the opportunity to live and dance with and really let them unravel me, dismantle so many false truths in my life in the best possible ways. I was in a place about 2 years ago now when I was really wrestling with the professional domain of my life. We're sort of on the surface level or from the outside looking in. I had a 6-figure salary and I'm working from home. I'm not even working a 40-hour work week. I'm working 32 hours a week, and every quarter having an opportunity to fly around the country, sometimes around the world for work, and work alongside women and men who were really, really, really energizing to me. I know that I had been placed in that particular cauldron of people to really be lifted up into what I believed was possible for me in my capacities as a professional, and also to really do some healing around my relationship to abundance and healing around old wounds of scarcity. It was a really, really special time in my life where I was surrounded by just the right kind of people to help me heal and move through those wounds. And also, I was definitely in a place where I was operating from really masculine side of my beingness, meaning it was a lot of sort of higher consciousness work, strategy, vision casting. I led a large department of people. We oversaw a very large community. There was a great deal of impact generated from the work that I did, and because of that, I really carried that work with a lot of reverence, meaning I was conscious every day of small decisions that I would make in my role would have a ripple effect onto thousands of other people. As I said, from the outside looking in, in the traditional sort of American dream style, like I was really crushing it, paying all the bills and taking my family on beautiful vacations and got a lot of extra spending money in my bank account. And I'm very, very well taken care of. And also, I felt really out of alignment with my natural gifts. A lot of my natural gifts are based on connection, they're intuitive, they're people based, I guess would be the way to say it. And I wasn't in a role where I could bring a lot of those feminine aspects of me to the table, or at least I could say that at that time I didn't believe that was what was needed from me. And so, really operating from a masculine place, I was doing a whole lot of pushing, right? Like driving myself, learn new skills, be better, do more, produce more. And there was a lot of my self worth really tangled up in my productivity. And it's a difficult place to move from because the truth is that no amount of doing this will ever make anyone feel worthy of belonging with others. There's something to be said for our self-worth being soul esteemed, meaning we have to believe that just in our beingness that we bring value to every room and every moment, that just standing in who we are as we are, giving what we give to the world with empty hands, that is so much more than enough. And I did not believe that at that time. I did not believe that. I was mentally exhausted from operating from a very intellectual place in my being for prolonged periods of time and not giving myself a way to sink into my feminine flow in the workplace. I was really burning myself out, and I recognized that I was very out of alignment with my natural gifts in such a way that it became almost like a soul cry to pivot and realign. There was something in me that just sort of kept saying, see that this doesn't bring you closer to where you're meant to go. See that this season has served, and release it in grace and love, even if it makes absolutely no sense to the people in your life. I remember when I started kind of sharing with people that I was going to be leaving this job, that they were just like, what in the actual fraggy frack bananas are you talking about? Because it made no sense from the outside looking in. But from the inside looking out, it was an inevitability that I would need to pivot to walk with more truth on my highest path forward. But I was fucking terrified. I had wrapped up so much of my identity in my work for so many years, not only at this job, but in previous professions as well. So much of who I was, or what I thought was valuable, or what I thought I brought to the table, sort of came from whatever seat I was sitting in on the bus at any given time, right? Like whatever role I was in, whatever job I was doing. And I was fucking terrified because I knew what the next right step was, but I didn't fully believe at that time that the ground would come up to meet me when I took that step into the unknown. I was terrified of risking safety and security for myself and for my family. I come from very humble roots, and my family has suffered a lot of homelessness and poverty, and my family of origin growing up. And I carry a lot of that with me still. Safety and security have always been really, really driving forces for me. So I knew in my soul, in my spirit, in my heart, I knew unshakably what I had to do, but I was so afraid to do it. And I was really looking outside of myself for the reassurance that if I took that step, the ground would rise up to meet me. And outside of work at that time, I didn't have a lot of people in my life that I could go to for wisdom from a spiritual place. I didn't have many people in my life at that time that I could go to and say, I have this knowing and it makes no fucking sense, but this is what I must do. And I'm terrified. Can you hold me through this in witness? Can you hold me through this fear as I navigate the way forward? I didn't have people in my life at that time who knew me in that way. And so I was sort of searching outside of myself for sisterhood. I was fucking starving for sisterhood in my life. I have worked in male dominated professions for decades, and a lot of my friends or coworkers were male. And at that time in my life, I sort of believed like I'm kind of a guy's girl, you know, I don't really get along with other women. I understand a lot more now about that sister wound. But I was at a place in my life with that decision point that I knew I needed sisters around me, women. I knew that I needed the support of women to trust this intuition. And oh my goodness, I can't even remember how this fucking badass community dropped into my life. Maybe it was Facebook. Maybe it was Instagram. You know, that like when you're numbing out, doom scrolling, just like chasing the seeds of joy, you're just like, I know I have something that I need to do, but I can't fucking move my feet. So I'm gonna look for validation elsewhere. By absolute fucking the miraculousness of the universe, I found the community rewilding, and it has transformed every arena of my life in the past year and a half. I had the opportunity to step into a circle in rewilding. It's a community made up of thousands of beautiful humans, a global community all across the world who are really going deeply into archetypal embodiment and how we ground our spirituality into our daily lives and not just talk about it and intellectualize it and think about it, right? Rewilding is all about the beingness of it, reclaiming our wildness, the path of the wild feminine. And so I found rewilding just at the time when I felt despair in the loneliness of lacking sisterhood in my life. I remember going to my first virtual workshop with rewilding, and it blew me away. It blew me away how authentic these beings got to be, how just absolutely wonderfully weird and uniquely wired and truthful and just in the messy, just icky, beautiful hardness, golden shadow of meeting those hidden parts of yourself, how there were literally thousands of beings all across the globe that were doing this type of work every day. And I had felt so alone, so alone. And then suddenly I felt such a sense of belonging. I just remember sitting in that first virtual circle and feeling seen in my wholeness, accepted in places that I wasn't even ready to meet myself. And rewilding has become a part of every day of my life. Leading rewilding is an incredible woman, Sabrina Lynn, who has been a mentor to me in shamanic journeying, and I was very blessed to be able to join a year-long mystery school with her called Archetype IX, where over the course of a year, we did archetypal embodiment work with different parts of self. Every week for a year, we journeyed deep into our bodies, into our consciousness, into the depths of our being to activate these different parts of self and to become more fully integrated. I graduated from that year-long mystery school just this past month, actually, depending on when you are listening to this podcast. I graduated from Rewilding's Archetype IX Mystery School in September of 2025, and oh my gosh, I remember when we were doing our circle, our sort of graduation circle to celebrate the final two archetypes that we had been working with. Each one of the souls who was bringing their Archetype IX journey to a close shared a little bit about what the year-long journey had been like for them in this mystery school. And I just remember feeling like there are no words. If you had told that frightened Nicole of a year and a half ago that her life would look like how it looks today, she would not believe you. She would not believe you that she had the courage to step away from that work. She would not believe you that she had the courage to step away from those relationships. She would not believe you that she had the courage to take off the masks and radiate her wacky weirdness into the world unapologetically. She would not have believed you. And this Nicole today is so very, very grateful for the mentorship that I was able to receive in the rewilding community working with these archetypes. And I'm hoping to gift a little bit of those energetics through my lived experience to you today. So as we're talking today about reclaiming the path of the wild feminine, there are three specific feminine forces that really are in the realm of dark goddess that I would love to speak to because they were particularly transformative to me. Before I introduce them, I want to speak a little bit to blocks or resistance or hesitancy that you may be feeling around the term dark goddess, or wild feminine, dark feminine. This is not dark bad. This is not dark evil. This is dark hidden in the depths of the unconscious. Wild meaning untamed. Wild meaning a reclaiming, a remembering of the truth of your feminine. Not dark bad, not dark evil, not wild to cause harm or pain to others. These dark goddesses are always in the spirit of our highest and best, path forward. This is dark goddess, wild feminine, that is in reverence to the divinity of the masculine. This is dark goddess, wild feminine, in true flow and balance to honoring both of these energetics and how they need each other. They fucking need each other. They do. The masculine needs the feminine needs the masculine. So when I am saying dark goddess, I'm saying dark hidden, dark in the depths of your being, dark in your subconscious mind, and so goddamn ready to come to the light. So ready to be integrated and alchemized into the rest of your beingness. The archetypes I'm hoping to move through with you today, time willing. I'm already on a bit of a tangent, so if you're new to the podcast, I guess you'll just know from now on to buckle up, Buttercup, because I never know where we're going to go. Reclaiming the path of the wild feminine today, we will be moving through Medusa, through Lilith, and through Eris. Those are three powerful feminine forces, feminine archetypes, dark feminine, wild feminine archetypes that I want to share a little bit about my lived experience with today. The first archetype who feels called to be with us is Medusa. Medusa, for me, was really about a de-armoring of my heart, reclaiming of my body, and an awakening of the medicine woman in me, the healer, the oracle, the witch in me. I've journeyed with Medusa quite a few times. I remember when we met Medusa in mystery school, when I was doing the Archetype IX mystery school. I journeyed with her 3 times that week because there was so much shedding of the masks that was needed. And I journeyed with her again today, actually, this morning, because I wanted to be able to bring her through from a really present place. And I've done, even just in the past 30 days, masks I didn't even realize I was still wearing were coming off, and so it felt right to spend some time with Medusa again. Medusa really helped me with reclaiming my sexuality, my sensuality, and my truth. A little bit about why sacred sexuality is important to me. Some of my earliest sexual experiences carry some wounding. Shame really is the emotion that feels most true for that experience. I was very aware as a young woman of the power of feminine sensuality, not even from having had any sexual experiences at all. There was just this energy of feminine sensuality that lived in my being very naturally and sort of radiated from me. Who I was at that time, who she was, just pure. And having not known the effect that radiance has on distorted masculine, I was wounded in my sexuality as a young woman. And because of that, I really armored up my heart and my body for decades. My creative life force really got shut down from that shame, cut off from the magic that lives in our feminine sensuality, our sexuality. And Medusa really became a portal for me for unshaming When I had the opportunity to do archetypal embodiment work with Medusa this morning, I met these beautiful visualizations of dual serpents, one of them onyx and one of them ice, sort of just breaking open the armor around my heart and releasing this golden light, this golden heart, unlocking this golden heart in me. There was such wisdom in that releasing of my golden heart and feeling sovereign again and radiating my love and light out into the world, and how intertwined that is with my sexuality and my sensuality, and just really coming into the wisdom of how thin the veil can be, how sharp our intuition can be, our sight, when we are not numbing, when we are not experiencing these creative blockages or these blockages of our life force, being disconnected from our inner sacred feminine. After I had those, I don't want to call them traumas, because to me it's an empowering part of my story that I have moved through this, and so I'll instead call it, when I had that portal early in my life of shame with my sexuality, it led to wounding in my womb space. I have struggled with endometriosis my entire life. I've had ovarian cysts my entire life. There's certainly science and genetics that could explain those things. And also, there is a real knowing in me today that much of the pain that I experienced in my creative organs stemmed from this shame and pain from my sexuality. And when we get to come to a place that we are holding truth in our womb, holding truth in our body, and how we can love it free. Medusa helped me to de-armor my heart and really reclaim my body, awaken my life force and my access to that intuition and my sensuality and my sexuality in my life force, reclaim my sexual sovereignty, my healing capacities, my sight. Medusa gave me back my radiance. And I loved getting to tangle with her this morning and bringing her to this space with you today. So that's a little bit about my journey with Medusa. So if you are in a place where you are holding on to something in your womb or in your body, if there is a truth in you that needs to be loved free, if there needs to be an unmasking for you, a de-armoring for you, Medusa perhaps is a doorway into archetypal embodiment that you might feel called to explore. Journey, opportunity for you to work with Medusa, doing the same shamanic journey that I did this morning, which consisted of a masterclass all about the archetypes, to teach you all about the Medusa mysteries, a little bit about her myth and lore, and then a half an hour long activation of that archetype in your body so that you can begin to gain greater access to her, and then another 30 minutes of embodiment work, followed by some journaling prompts, some ways to do daily practices with Medusa. It is such an absolutely juicy journey, and I moved through that for about 2 hours this morning. I feel rewired all over again with my golden heart. So if you feel called to Medusa, you can pop into the show notes to explore how you might do a shamanic journey with her yourself. Let me feel into which one of the archetypes would be most true to bring to you next. I feel Lilith weaving in here, specifically on the thread of sacred sexuality. Lilith taught me about self-trust. Oh man, did she give me courage. Lilith taught me about shadow play, how to be playful in our shadow, how to meet our sacred fire. The themes for me in my journeys with Lilith were, I felt a real reluctance to rebirth. The Lilith archetype is really about the wildness of sexuality in the feminine. She moved through 3 phases, and all archetypes do move through 3 phases: dormant, distorted, and divine. But in the Lilith mysteries, I think we get to see moving through all 3 of those stages most beautifully. The Lilith archetype, when she was dormant, was really wired for devotion to her partner, almost in a way of being self-sacrificing. And I had such a visceral reaction to that aspect of the archetype, because when I met her on the path at the time that I did in mystery school, she asked me to look at those parts of myself, and I wasn't sure that I was ready. I wasn't sure I was ready to admit that in my devotion to my partner, I had abandoned myself in such an act of self-betrayal that I lost many parts of me and failed to ask for my needs to be met, or even know what my needs were to be met. When I first started working with Lilith, truly I wanted to just run away. I did not want to see the rebirth that was needed from that reluctance, and yet when I allowed the shadow to lead the way, the shadow meaning what I was first coming to feel a gnosis of in my body, a knowing and understanding, not a truth that we can necessarily cognize and explain outside of ourselves, but a truth we feel in our bones when we say, I know this and I don't know how I know this, but I know it to be true. And at that time, what I was coming to understand was that I could no longer be in a partnership that I was in because it was destroying me. I had lost so much of myself. And so working with Lilith helped me to move through the dormant stage. Dormant meaning I was not aware of sort of self-sacrificing, moving into then a distorted stage where there was so much rage and grief directed outside of myself, but then also inward at sort of the way I had abandoned me. It was difficult to sit with that sort of grief of how I had slowly lost myself along the way. And moving through that distorted phase into the more divine expression of Lilith, which was really finally coming to a place of self-trust And to be able to see in the sea of all of those emotions, to wield the keys in those mystic waters and see that it was all for me, that that partnership and the way that it evolved and the person that I had called in and why I needed it to be that particular person, and perhaps why that particular person needed it to be me. It all served. It was so fucking needed. And moving with Lilith through these stages built such a self-trust in me. I have this real visceral remembering of when I was working with this particular archetype and moving into the divine expression of her. And there's a bit of a soul retrieval in that masterclass where you're really recovering parts of self and Lilith sort of returning that gift to you. And I have this visceral visualization of just this hallway of doors in the clouds, this hallway of doors in the clouds. I'm standing at the start of the hallway, and these clouds stretch out long before me. On each side, there's doors and doors and doors. And as I'm going through this soul retrieval, these doors start opening on both sides of the hallway, and all these little versions of me, different versions of me, different parts of me start coming out of the doorways and walking into the hallway onto the clouds in such reverence of one another. It was like a coming home party. It was like they were so overjoyed to meet each other. And so all these little me's are flooding out of these doorways onto this hall of clouds and moving away from me into the light. And that was the beautiful soul retrieval that I did when I worked with Lilith in archetypal embodiment. And I'm so fucking grateful for her, for the self-trust that she helped me to reclaim, because I really wanted to avoid activating that archetype. There was so much resistance in me to the Lilith archetype, perhaps from some like collective resistance to the wildness of her story. I'm not sure if it came from that or if it was because of exactly where I was at that moment in time and the integration that was needed from me to really play in my shadows and find that sacred fire to reclaim those lost parts of self. And so if you're feeling some resonance with this archetype and there's a reluctance to your rebirth and you're really wanting the shadow to lead the way, I would ask you, where are you still avoiding your own knowing because you fear the power that it holds? Where are you still avoiding your knowing because you feel the power that it holds? You fear it. Because once you see, you can't unsee. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, and it holds power over you. And so deep fucking bow to that fear and to that reluctance. And also, there is such golden shadow on the other side of that. From the rebirth of that reluctance into me, there is such self-trust now in the wisdom that lives in my body. If I get a little something in my gut, I'm just like, nope, that's not for me. If I get that, dazzling little open, receive, I trust now the wisdom in my body like never before. It's really reshaped something of like an oracle sight in me. I utilize it often in my work every single day to see with my kind of sight what is unseen, and it serves me so very well in dancing in the shadows. So that's a little bit about Lilith for you. Let's see what's gonna close us up for today. I saved this podcast, recording this podcast for the evening, I thought, dark goddess, dark feminine. I think we need a little bit of moonlight for this one. So I'm over here in my sunroom with all my candles and my solar lights, and there's a beautiful night sky, and I can see the moon out the window here. And I'm sipping on some sleepy time tea, and it's certainly starting to do its job. So let me talk us through the last archetype and then start wrapping us up for today. Oh my gosh, chugging sleepy time tea over here. If you're a tea connoisseur such as I, you might enjoy this one. Honey and lavender. Oof, my goodness. Lovely. Our last archetype today. So we talked a little bit about Medusa. We talked a little bit about Lilith. And the archetype who is going to close us up today is Eris. Oh, Eris. If you are an astrology girly like me, you might enjoy this little tidbit. If you're not yet an astrology girly, I'll give you a totally freebie invitation to be able to run your birth chart and see where these archetypes might be in your birth chart. Rewilding has this incredibly free, like they're just giving this away. Like, go find all your archetypes where they are in your birth chart. If you have ever checked your horoscope and you think maybe I could live my life by the stars, check out this free workshop on how to read your birth chart, and you can see where some of these archetypes fall for you, and so what themes they might influence in your life. I'm mentioning this because the last archetype we're going to be chatting about today is Eris, and I have Eris conjunct my North Node. So North Node meaning sort of my highest path forward in this lifetime, my soul's evolution in this life, where I'm meant to move forward and move through. If you had an opportunity to listen to the Radical Reclamations episode before you are listening to this one, you will have heard me talk a little bit about the warrior in me, specifically the warrior for truth. And so this one goes all the way, hats off and deep bow to Eris. Eris, who is a warrior for truth. Eris, who creates chaos and discord to reveal truth. Truth that heals, right? Not truth to harm, not truth to wound, truth that reveals to heal. And so Eris and I have been dancing for a lifetime. She was one of the very first archetypes I worked with in the Archetype IX Mystery School. It was such a joy for me how familiar she was, how accessible she was for me. It's like this hurricane of truth. Her energetics are like this wild storm to create chaos that reveals the shake up to wake up in your life. At that time, my relationship to truth was a little distorted. I could feel the truth in my body. I could understand the truth in my mind and in my heart. And it was trapped in my throat, and my voice could not release truth in a healing way. And so instead, at that time, I sort of wielded truth like a dagger, almost to lash out, to protect myself. And that does not serve. That does not serve. And so Eris taught me about how we can wield truth in the way that it is a balm to the soul for us, to speak that truth, to hold others to truth. And so it was a big leap for me from being unable to speak my truth at all to being able to understand how to wield truth that heals. And the way that I began to practice that in the small every day after working with this archetype was to say, what is the little truth in this moment? What is the little truth that serves? In the beginning, it was like, maybe I don't have the full courage or the full access to the capital T truth that's going to come out and just kind of crush souls in this situation. But what is the lowercase t truth, the little truth that serves? It's mutually beneficial. It's not only good for me to claim it, it's good for this person to be able to receive it, or for the situation to be able to receive it. I would sort of ask myself, what if this truth could bring clarity? Because that hurricane of truth that was inside of me, it was never meant to destroy. It was never meant to cause harm or create carnage, right? It wasn't intended to be righteous rage. That hurricane of truth inside of me, it was meant to deliver truth that heals, truth that reveals. And I'm so, so grateful to being able to unlock the Eris archetype in me in a divine expression. It has made me so mindful with my words, with my voice. I have this sense now that when I speak, people hear me. They hear the resonance of my voice, they hear my words, and they sink deeper than I understood before. And because I have that knowing now, I'm very conscious with the way I express truth, my truth. I think it has helped me to be a more intentional communicator, and that influences every facet of being in life, right? Our relationships, our work, meeting a stranger on the street, singing, writing, just anything that could utilize language, whether it's written, whether it's spoken, and whether it's our thought forms, our beliefs. Eris really helped me to understand the power of my words and how that capital T truth can reveal and then heal. If this particular archetype, Eris, just warrior for truth, is maybe calling to you a little bit, I would ask you, where have you been calling misalignment that was really an initiation? Where are there places in your life where it feels there is chaos storming and you feel wildly out of alignment? Because through this archetype, those places of chaos, they can become a training ground for initiation. It's a shake up to wake up. Where are you creating chaos in your life? And how can you let it be transformed into an initiation of your next best evolution? That is what Eris holds for you. Alrighty. There we are, reclaiming the path of the wild feminine with Medusa, with Lilith, with Eris, archetypal embodiment with these dark goddesses, dark hidden, right? Dark subconscious, the wild feminine, the feminine that is feeling, receiving, knowing, being, the feminine that is in flow. These archetypes are not one-time activations. They continue to work with you, through you, for you. Once you have connected with them, you can journey with them many times, and the shamanic journey will be different every time. As I said, I journeyed with all three of these archetypes multiple times. Medusa, multiple times. Eris, I go back to anytime I sense I'm creating chaos in my life, which I'm a sort of a change agent, and so I am a change agent. I am a change maker. I'm creating change, creating chaos to reveal truth. I just dance in it. I'm like, yes, let's change something again. The people around me are like, oh, stop moving the furniture. These archetypes are not a one and done. They're not a one-time activation. We get to meet them many different times on our path, and they get to reveal different truths to us every time. So I have been able to reclaim my voice and reclaim my body, my boundaries, my intuition, my sacred sexuality, my truth in so many different small initiations that create these tidal waves for my authenticity over time. And this work, it's really for those who are ready to ground it into their body, into their being, and express it out into their lives. One of the compliments that I receive most often now, especially in recent months, that I had never, ever, ever, not once heard before in my life, to me or to the women around me, the word that people often say to me now is that I am radiant. They'll say, "You are radiant, Nicole. You look radiant." And I just feel such gratitude. That soul shine, that soul esteem that I feel, it gets to shine through my being out into my life. And so archetypal embodiment is for those who are fucking ready to express it through them, to move it through them, ready to reclaim their wild frickin' feminine. And so if that's you and you feel the call, the tingles, the pull, the niggle, the thread to walk with these archetypes, to awaken what's sacred or what's wild within you, I'll invite you to journey with Medusa through the rewilding portal, the same journey that I did this morning, the same journeys that I've done over the past year. You can also get access to them. I'm super, super excited to be able to be an ambassador for rewilding. It has been such a gift to my life. The community, the mentorship, just the sovereignty for my practice. It's been such a gift to my life. And so what an honor it is to be able to open that doorway for you. You'll find a link in the show notes to work with Medusa if you're feeling that archetype as a doorway for you. It's the first place that I like to send women where they're asking, like, where do I begin? I'm already sensing that you have a mask that you're ready to rip off, and so Medusa is the doorway. If one of these other archetypes was speaking to you as well, maybe Lilith or Eris, for a really limited time, I'm not sure when you're hearing this podcast, through until October 31st of 2025, we'll be offering the Reclaimers Path. That includes a journey with Lilith, Medusa, and all three archetypes, 3 masterclasses, 3 activations, 3 embodiments, 3 for the price of 2. So you'll actually get one of these archetypes for free. And then don't tell Sabrina that I told you, but there are some pretty sweet bonus features on the backside of that, where you'll actually get some sneaky peek access to one of the other archetypes that I mentioned in a previous podcast episode, who really rocked me into my queendom. So I won't say who that is, so it can be a surprise candy in your inbox if you decide to do either Medusa, work with Medusa, or the Reclaimers Path and journey with all 3 of these archetypes. Links in the show notes for you, and I'll also pop the link in there for that free masterclass to learn how to run your friggin' birth chart. Become an astrology girly with me. I'm always just teasing my daughters and telling them, guys, I'm just living my life by the stars, you know? So if you're one of those girlies who likes to check their horoscope, this might be for you. Or if you're feeling really strongly to one of these archetypes and you're curious, where might this archetype be in my personal astrology, in my birth chart? You'll be able to check that out for free. And that might even be a doorway for you to better know, is it time for me just to journey with Medusa? Or are these three dark goddesses, each of them their own portal to activating my reclamation of the wild feminine on this path? Fuck yes. I'll leave you with that. I will leave you with, I am forever a healer dancing in the light and just radiating my love and my heart and my abundance and my joy and my bliss out into the world. And also, I am able to do that because I have a real reverence for the work that I do in the depths, in the shadow, with these wilder archetypes, these wild feminine, this dark feminine. That work has been most potent for me. Sense that it will be a reclamation for you as well. So, journey true, let it set you free. May the dark feminine hold you, crack you open wildly in your heart so that your golden heart can also be a gift to this world and to the people in your life who you love most. Thank you, thank you, thank you for holding space with me on this divine evening, and I will see you very soon.